All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our February Nutrition Sport Monthly call. This is Stephanie Loop. I'm going to be doing our call today. Misty's been doing an amazing job doing these every month, but she and the rest of our staff are in a training with USDA today. So I'm going to fill in for her and hopefully cover all the material. If we've got questions at the end, get those answered as well. But yeah, excited to be here with y'all today. All right, let's discuss the memos that have been posted since our last monthly update. We had memo SFS 24-27, Seeds to Success January newsletter. In our January Seeds to Success newsletter, it included a save the date for Seeds to Success Garden Leadership Summer Workshop. The annual hands-on teacher training is scheduled for Tuesday, July 9th through February, July 12th at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, Ira Nelson Horticulture Center. More info on how to apply will be announced later this spring. It also included a link to purchase the 2024 Seeds to Success calendar featuring our very own Louisiana K-12 students. I have one up in our office. It is precious. The drawings every month has a cute drawing that are centered around farm to school. The calendar features original artwork, and it gives you helpful planning and harvesting tips to keep you or your loved ones in tune with the season all year long. The newsletters feature January's Louisiana Harvest of the Month, which was cabbage. And also included in that newsletter was the featured recipe of Cajun cabbage rolls. And if you don't receive that newsletter, you can go to the Seeds to Success website and you can enroll to get those emails sent straight to you. Memo SFS 24-28, our December 2023 SNAP and TANF was loaded into eScholar Direct Match. Districts should resolve any near matches in the batches below. So we've got, for public school districts, we've got SNAP batches 7374, TANF batch 7368. And then for our non-public schools, we had SNAP batch 7384 and TANF batch 7383. It's good practice in April coming up. We're going to be having our population data for CEP. So the more you can work ahead and get all of those matches done in advance, the better shape you'll be in for our new CEP season. Memo SFS 2429, Safe Meals, Healthy Kids, Food Safety Tips for Safe Summer Meals. The SNAS, Food Safety and Nutrition Division, Food Safety Branch hosted a national webinar for summer meal providers titled Safe Meals, Healthy Kids, Food Safety Tips for Safe Summer Meals in partnership with the CN Community Meals Policy Division. The webinar was held just about a week ago on January 31st from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It included a food safety presentation, as well as some refreshers on the SFSP meal pattern, share tables, and other policy topics that relate to food safety, such as non-congregate meal service. Food safety topics addressed included employee health and hygiene, alternative meal service and distribution, best practices for transporting and holding foods, and more. Information on this webinar was intended for summer meal providers and others who may provide food safety training or technical assistance for summer meal operations. Memo SFS 24-30, implementation guidance on the interim final rule establishing summer EBT program and rural non-congregate option in summer meal programs. This memo provides guidance on the administration and operation of non-congregate meal service from the interim final rule, establishing the summer EBT program and rural non-congregate option in the summer meal programs. This memo includes an attachment highlighting key information on the new regulatory requirements for non-congregate summer meal service in rural areas. And there's an attachment that reviews previously applicable regulatory requirements, specifies previously applicable FNS guidance, including from summer 2023, details the regulatory changes affected by the interim final rule. And FNS does intend to issue additional guidance for implementation of the rural non-congregate summer meal service provision, including some question and answers. There were a few of us that were able to go to Baltimore for a No Kid Hungry Summer Summit, where we discussed a lot of these changes, and we're going to cover it later, but we really would encourage you to come to some of our SFSP trainings if you are able to kind of get some of that new information. We're going to cover a little bit of it today. And another, we still have not been given a firm decision on summer EBT. So at this point, we are still waiting on further guidance on that in Louisiana. Memo SFS 24-31. These are our February 2024 trainings. These are all posted on Louisiana Believes. So we've got today our monthly call. On Thursday, February 8th at 1 p.m. is going to be the Louisiana Farm to School Meet the Farmer webinar. That's going to be hosted by LSU Ag. That should be a good one. On Tuesday, February 20th, from 8 to 2:30 is the Louisiana Festival of Flavors culinary training at Union Parish High School. On Wednesday, February 21st, from 8 to 4:30, we're going to have an in-person SFSP returning sponsor training. That's going to be all of you all at the Louisiana Department of Education Claiborne building. The Claiborne building is really close to the state capitol. So if you know where that is, Claiborne building is close by. And we're going to have an SFSP returning sponsor training there. On Tuesday, February 27th at 1 p.m., we're going to have a food service management company contracts webinar. And then on Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 4:30, we're going to have an in-person SFSP news sponsor training, again, at the Louisiana Department of Education Claiborne building. Now, not on this slide and soon to be posted to Louisiana Fit Kids are a state update, which is going to be held in person at Pennington on March 6th. That's a Wednesday. That's going to take the place of our regular monthly call. And then the next day, we're going to have a returning sponsor training. Again, that would be similar to the one being held on Wednesday, February 21st. We're going to have one additional SFSP returning sponsor training at the Louisiana Department of Education at the Claiborne building. So be on the lookout for that information. It should be coming out very soon. Then we had Memo SFS 24-32 live webinar from Plants to Plates. The Dairy Max team was excited to extend an invitation or is excited to extend an invitation to their upcoming webinar From Plants to Plates. Revolutionize your menu with chef-crafted plant-forward recipes. This is going to happen on Tuesday, February 13th at 3 p.m. Y'all may also recognize that date as Mardi Gras. But it's going to be an insightful session where Chef Lindsay and Chef V, registered dietitian nutritionist, will showcase chef-created plant-forward recipes featuring local ingredients and global flavors. Discover the research supporting plant-forward meals and learn how combining plants with dairy can be a powerful duo for boosting participation. Memo SFS 24-33 Festival of Flavors culinary training on February 20th in Union Parish. I believe that is a full session. So unfortunately, I don't believe there's any more spaces available in this. Kathy Carmichael is the contact for that. Memo SFS 24-34 Rural Designations in the Summer Meals Program revised. The purpose of this memo is to revise guidance on rural designations in the Summer Food Service Program and the National School Lunch Program Seamless Summer Option. The Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023 authorized a permanent non-congregate meal service option through the SFSP and SSO for children who live in rural communities with no congregate meal service. And we're going to show you pictures of the new map. I think you will all be thrilled at what it looks like this year. The memo is updated to include revisions to the definition of rural as provided in the interim final rule, establishing the summer EBT program and rural non-congregate option in the summer meals program, which was published in the Federal Register on December 29th of 2023. The revised definition allows the use of multiple recognized federal definitions and classifications to designate areas as rural without further USDA approval, as well as the option for state agencies with regional office, FNS regional office approval, to identify additional pockets that are rural in character based on other data sources. The revised definition will ease administrative burden and streamline the site identification and approval process for state agencies and program sponsors. And I think when you all see this new map, you will see there's not going to be much need to go to FNS to request rural pockets for summer 2024. In addition, this memo highlights the updates made to the Food and Nutrition Service Rural Designation Map, a tool available to assist state agencies and sponsors in designating sites as rural. And this memo supersedes SFSP Policy Memo SFSP 17-2015, Rural Designations in the Summer Food Service Program, which had previously been revised on April 21st of 2017. Memo SFS 24-35, Louisiana Pre-Approved Equipment List, revised for 2024. This memo is a revised list of the Louisiana pre-approved equipment. We've added a few pieces of equipment to the pre-approved list with USDA's approval. The requirements haven't changed. They are still the same. Equipment acquisitions and other capital expenditures of $5,000 or more per item require school food authorities to obtain prior written approval from the state agency before incurring any associated cost. If an SFA chooses to select equipment not included on this pre-approved list, the SFA must submit a request for approval to the state agency prior to purchasing the item, as required in 2 CFR 200.439. The equipment purchase pre-approval form request form can be found on the CNP website under School Food Service General Forms. And a link to the request form is also on this slide, which will be posted to Louisiana Fit Kids over the next few days. Memo SFS 24-36, SFS Tentative Administrative Review 5-year cycle for school year 24-25 through school year 28-29. This is a tentative administrative review cycle. And we are now allowed to default to a 5-year cycle. We've been working with our regional office. They are awaiting further guidance from the national office about all of the requirements surrounding this. We'll be submitting a plan on who will receive follow-up reviews in between their regularly scheduled 5-year cycles. So this is a tentative schedule. But it is available for you. We wanted to make sure you at least had an idea of what we were thinking. It's been posted under resources, under administrative review information, and the review schedule, again, it is subject to change pending USDA's approval. The Child Nutrition Program Integrity Final Rule provided us with an option to implement a 5-year school meal programs administrative review cycle and the option to align the food service management company review with the AR cycle. State agencies that are choosing the review cycle longer than the 3 years, which is what Louisiana is going to do, we are required to identify high-risk SFAs and provide additional oversight to those SFAs. State agencies must conduct a targeted follow-up review of any SFA designated as high risk within 2 years of that initial administrative review. State agencies that review SFAs on a longer than 3-year review cycle must develop a plan for food and nutrition services approval, describing the criteria that will be used to designate high-risk SFAs that are subject to targeted follow-up reviews. State agencies, we will submit our plan to our regional office for review and approval that outlines the criteria that will be used to designate an SFA as high risk. So that is what we're waiting additional guidance on. This is year 5 of our current 5-year cycle. We used to require a waiver. We no longer require a waiver. And since next year will be year one of a new 5-year cycle, we will have to have a plan in place with USDA approval before we can solidify this schedule. I will say this as well. I've gotten a couple questions about how to download the document from the website. A few people are having trouble. One thing you can do, if you click the link on our website and it doesn't open, one thing you can do is right click and select copy link, and then you can paste it into another window. And sometimes that will allow the download to happen. Another thing you can do is just check your downloads. The link is not going to open up a web page. It is actually going to download a Word document for you. So that's just a little tip if you're having difficulty viewing that 5-year review cycle. Memo SFS 24-37, Investing in America Toolkit for Fiscal Year 2022, NSLP Equipment Assistant Grantees. On October 11, 2022, the Food and Nutrition Service released an additional $50 million in equipment assistance grant funding from the American Rescue Plan, ARPA, of 2021. This funding supported schools in a successful return to normal National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program operations. Schools have used this funding to purchase equipment through the 2022 equipment grant. FNS is pleased to announce a toolkit that provides general guidelines for state partners to share with fiscal year 2022 National School Lunch Program equipment assistance subgrantees on how to display and use the Investing in America logo at sites and locations where the funding was used. State agencies are encouraged to share this toolkit with subgrantees that received a portion of that $50 million in additional equipment assistance grant funding provided by the ARPA. On the slide is snippets of the logo and the sticker. So if you were a 2022 subgrantee for the equipment grant, this is for you. And that memo and toolkit are available on our website under Memo SFS 24-37. Memo SFS 24-38, announcing upcoming state agency and SFA CEP 101 webinars. After years of successful implementation of the Community Eligibility Provision, or CEP, on September 26, 2023, FNS published a final rule, Child Nutrition Programs Community Eligibility Provision, increasing options for schools, with an effective date of October 26 of 2023. This final rule lowered the minimum identified student percentage threshold from 40% to 25%. FNS is hosting webinars to provide an overview of the community eligibility provision for interested state agencies and school food authority staff. The webinar for school food authorities is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024 at 1 p.m. There is a Zoom. You can register for the Zoom webinar from the link in that memo. And just as a reminder, although USDA did lower the threshold from 40% to 25%, the multiplier has not changed. So if you opt in at 25% ISP with that 1.6 multiplier, you're only claiming 4 out of every 10 meals at the free rate. The remaining 6 are going to be claimed at the paid rate, and there's going to be non-federal funds required to subsidize those remaining 6 meals. All right, let's talk about some important reminders and updates. Equipment grants. We're going to talk specifically about 2023 equipment grants. After January 31st of 2024, the online application process is closed, so no more applications are accepted after that date. After that January 31st date, submissions were closed. The red bar at the top of the online application shows that application submission is in fact closed at this point. Notification of awards will take place by March 25th of 2024. The award notification will include the amount of the grant and detailed instructions on how to request funding. SFAs who are awarded grant funding will receive an email with instructions on how to request reimbursement. So please check your online authorized representative contact information and ensure that an accurate email address is listed. I think it's frustrating for everyone, for your school system, for us at the state agency when we can't get in touch with the right person. So please check and make sure that the authorized rep that's listed is who should be contacted for routine school food service matters. The request for reimbursement requires an online request for funding and submission of a purchase order or invoice for each awarded site or piece of equipment. SFAs must obligate funds by September 30th of 2024. That means you've got a purchase order or an invoice, and then SFAs must submit the request for reimbursement by October 21st of 2024. We have those deadlines, so if there's any funding left over, we can do a second allocation. We have had a couple of SFAs ask about the on-site monitoring, so we wanted to briefly touch on this, even though the deadline has technically passed. So according to 7 CFR 210.8A1 and 7 CFR 220.11D1, every school year prior to February 1st, each school food authority with more than one school, as defined by 7 CFR Part 210.2 to include residential childcare institutions, must perform no less than one on-site review of the meal counting and claiming system and the readily observable general areas of review identified under 7 CFR 210.18H in each school operating the National School Lunch Program and 50% of schools operating the school breakfast program under its jurisdiction. This is really important to get out there, to see your schools, to see the point of service, and make sure that things are functioning the way that you understand them to be functioning. The on-site monitoring form can be found on the CNP website under the School Food Service General Forms. You can see that on the left side of the screen. And then on the slide is also a snapshot of the form. And this is going to cover those areas that you are going to want to look at and ensure compliance in. So if you missed that February 1st deadline, no worries. Go ahead and try to get those done as soon as possible in order to get back into compliance. All right, let's talk about active SAM registration. We mentioned it at the November state update, but we wanted to go over it again today as this is an important item. In accordance with federal regulations at 2 CFR Part 25, the Louisiana Department of Education may not make an award to an entity until the entity has complied with the requirements to maintain an active SAM registration. So of course, SAM stands for System for Award Management. And in order to continue operating the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program, the organization must have an active SAM registration. SFAs will receive an email notifying them that their organization has a SAM registration that is expiring, and you will be asked to forward documentation indicating that the organization has a valid SAM registration. Okay, I wanted to bring up again about how to check the authorized contacts, as we are still having some issues with incorrect contact information within our CMP system. We're still having instances where we're attempting to get in contact with an SFA and we're getting an email that's either kicked back to us and says that the email address doesn't exist or the phone number listed is incorrect. And it's very important that the authorized contacts are correct and current so that you can receive the necessary information for your school system. We're asking SFAs to check to make sure that the correct and current authorized contacts are listed in the CNP system. You can do this by logging into the system and then under the green School Food Service tab, click on the authorized contact. That's going to be on the left-hand column. Please check both the authorized representative and the superintendent information to make sure the email address, phone number, and mailing address is correct in the CNP system. And then if you have a change to the authorized contact, superintendent, address, phone number, email, etc., you need to update your CNP agreement, which I'm going to show you how to do next. So if you have a change in the authorized contact, you're going to go under school food service forms, and then you're going to go in the section that's school food service general. And this child nutrition program information sheet is how you amend your CNP agreement. The CNP agreement, CNP information sheet is going to be found here, and you can update whichever sections of that form are applicable, whichever changes have been made. Here's what this form looks like. And please make sure you complete all sections that need updating. You are going to, as stated at the top of the form, you're going to send us the original with an original signature back to LDOE by mail. If you want to scan it to us in the meantime, that's fine. Maybe you want to let us know that it's coming, that these are the changes that are going to happen, but we do need that original to keep in your permanent file. And we do have our address up at the top left of this form. All right, a little bit more about administrative reviews. CN Resources has notified LDOE several times that some SFAs have been non-responsive during the administrative review process. We have weekly updates with CN Resources to discuss ongoing administrative reviews. Please know that you have to be responsive to CN Resources when they're contacting your when they're conducting your administrative review and they're asking for supportive documentation. You also need to adhere to the due dates that are assigned to submit that documentation. If you've got a conflict, if there's something unreasonable, you can absolutely ask for due dates to be reassessed. But we do have to stick to these due dates that are being assigned. With SFAs being non-responsive, what comes with that is more review findings and corrective action. So if they're just completely unable to get certain pieces of information, maybe you have it on file, but if you don't submit it, they can't assess the adequacy of that section, and it may result in a review finding. At the beginning of your administrative review process, you should have been given the main contact person or representative from CN Resources. And throughout the administrative review process, if you're having any issues or have questions, please make sure you contact that specific CN Resource representative. You're supposed to have one main point of contact that's going to work you through the entire process. So as we stated previously, the tentative administrative review 5-year cycle for school years 24-25 through 28-29 is available on the CNP website. It has been posted under resources, under administrative review information. And again, that review schedule is subject to change pending USDA approval. The Child Nutrition Program Integrity Final Rule provides states with the option to implement this 5-year cycle and the option to align the Food Service Management Company review with the AR review cycle. I believe we covered most of this. So in any case, we are still waiting on further guidance from our regional office. But once we receive that, we will turn in our plans and hopefully get that reviewed and finalized by USDA. Okay, let's do a couple reminders about health inspections. It is the responsibility of the School Food Authority to request 2 food safety inspections from their local sanitarian office and document those efforts. For those agencies that fail to obtain the 2 mandatory food safety inspections, the LDOE will request documentation to show that they have made every effort to comply with that federal requirement. SFAs should document their requests in writing for proper documentation of their effort to obtain those inspections. Emails are a really great piece of documentation where you can show that you have requested those health inspections and on which date. Health inspections must be added to the CNP website So to add a health inspection, go under the green school food service tab, then click on health inspections on that left-hand column. Click the plus sign next to the site or sites that need inspection dates added. And if you know the date of the inspection, which you should, you will select yes from the drop-down list and then click OK. Then you're going to select the calendar to insert the site inspection date or type the date in the field. When typing the date, don't add zeros to the front of the numbers. As you can see here, like it's not 01 for January, it's just 1. It can cause the system to kind of glitch out a little bit and it won't save your information. But then you will click your blue check mark to save. Now, for your March claim for reimbursement, a reminder will appear prior to submitting your March claim, asking if there's any current year health inspections that need reporting in the CNP system, and you must provide a response. And then for April, for your claim for reimbursement, sponsor users will not be allowed to submit claims beginning in April until health inspection reporting has been done for each NSLP approved site. If both have not been completed, if your 2 inspections per site have not been completed, make sure that you go ahead and contact your local health department sanitarian regarding the completion of those remaining required inspections. And so you will be able to document this in your CNP, in the CNP system. Okay, SFSP. I very much feel like summer is already here. Summer feeding will be going before any of us knew it. So due to the desire to ensure that as much of the state is afforded the opportunity to access summer meals when school is not in session, LDOE is requiring an earlier opt-in period for indicating feeding sites across the state. So by March 15th, we're going to have all SFAs will need to notify the state agency via a survey that's going to be posted within the CNP website with their intent to operate SFSP or SSO, which locations. I have asked our programmer and I've seen a little snip of it. It's going to pull in all of your sites. So it's not going to require a ton of manual work on your part, but you'll indicate which sites are going to operate SFSP or SSO, which months they'll be operating, and if you plan on operating those as congregate, non-congregate, both or neither, per month. So that's going to give us a really good idea about what our SFAs are planning to do. That survey will then later be open to our other, the other tiers of the SFSP process. So it'll then be open to Indian tribal organizations, governmental entities, and private nonprofits. The other deadline, and I will say again about this March 15th deadline, we are trying to get this information out to business offices and superintendents. We have a few different avenues from LDOE where we can communicate that. We know historically, as a group, you all have struggled to get principals and business managers and leaders at your schools to tell you where you're going to be operating and how you're going to be operating. So we know this is a change, but bear with us as we try to improve how smoothly this works. The other deadline that we have is your site applications are going to be due, or your sponsor application plus your site additions are going to be due May 31st or greater than 14 days prior to program operations. We really need that turnaround period. During COVID, we had the ability to backdate some of your sites. We do not have that ability in statute. You have to have approval. That means your site has to go through our full LDOE Division of Nutrition Support approval process and be in an approved status. That means 3 levels of review. Any changes that need to be made prior to feeding anyone. So if you want to claim a meal, it has to be in approved status. So that means we really need your apps by May 31st or greater than 14 days prior to program operations. If we don't, we won't be able to approve any days prior to those deadlines. Oops, let me go back one. Okay, on this slide, we have the link to the USDA FNS website with SFSP rural designation map. State agencies and sponsors may use this tool to determine if a proposed site may be designated as rural for purposes of the summer food service program and the seamless summer option, collectively known as summer meal programs. We've got more information on rural designations and the summer meal programs under Policy Memo SFSP 04/2024 and SP 06/2024. So I am actually now going to show you what the new rural designation map looks like. So for this year, for summer 2024, all locations shaded as green indicate rural areas. All locations unshaded, meaning not colored green, indicate non-rural or urban areas. And it's very clear when you look at this. Shreveport has a non-rural area: Monroe, Alexandria, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. Those are our areas that have the non-rural area locations. So this is the map we're going to be working with. Now, I will say, just because you have a site in a green area doesn't mean it's automatically eligible for non-congregate feeding. In federal regulations, we do have to ensure that there is no other feeding, there's no congregate meal service taking place in that area. So it will be a little bit more complicated than just looking at this map and saying, yes, if you're green, you can do non-congregate. But that's why we need you to come to our summer food service trainings, either in February or March, so we can get you more detailed information about what that's going to look like. But if you want to go ahead and see if a specific location is eligible, you can enter your location, your address in the search tool in the upper left corner to find your location. Then you could also use the plus and minus tool or scroll to zoom into the desired location. The current layer has all the categories of rural. So if the address is within a green area, it is considered rural. You can also use the folder button on the upper left-hand side of the map to turn off and on the individual rural categories. So if I go back a slide, what USDA did here, if you all remember from last summer, they came out with some tools as the summer went along to determine if an area could fall within a rural pocket. So what they've done is they've taken all the tools and they've overlaid them, and what's left is what is not considered to be rural. Sorry, y'all. Let me get back. All right. So that is a little bit on how to use that rural designation tool. Okay, so regarding non-congregate feeding, here are some of the things that we must do at the state agency. We must ensure that the area the site proposes to serve is not or will not be served by congregate meal service. We must implement safeguards to prevent overlap between meal services to reasonably ensure children are not receiving more than the maximum allowance of SFSP meals per day. And if you'll remember, what that is 2 meals per day, not to include lunch and supper is the only combination that children cannot consume. But what we can't allow is for the same child to have access to breakfast and lunch at one location and PM snack and supper at another location. We have to have safeguards in place to reasonably ensure that children are not receiving more than 2 meal types per day. We also must follow the priority system required by program regulations when approving applicants proposing to serve children in the same area. So what that looks like is public and private nonprofit school food authorities. So school food authorities come first. And this is why we're doing the survey in the order that we're doing it. Next come units of local, municipal, parish, or state governments. Next come tribal organizations. And then next come existing private nonprofit organizations that are in good standing And then lastly would be new or private nonprofits that are not considered to be in good standing. Though you do have to be considered to be in good standing in order to participate in non-congregate feeding. So here are upcoming SFSP trainings. February 21st, we've got one for returning sponsors. February 28th are for prospective new sponsors. March 7th is for returning sponsors. It's going to be an exact repeat of the one on February 21st. It is also the day after our state update in Baton Rouge on March 6th. So that may be, if you're coming from out of town, coupling those together may be a good idea for you. Trainings are going to be in person for summer at the LDOE Claiborne building in Baton Rouge, and you can register for these at louisianafitkids.com. All right, so we went over this earlier. End of February, we're going to have a food service management company contract training. March 6th, we've got our in-person state update. That one is at Pennington. The next day will be the summer training for returning sponsors at Claiborne building in Baton Rouge. And then March 19th, we've got a Zoom call, which is going to be our CEP overview. And we're going to be talking about your population data that's coming due in April. And again, you can always register for those at louisianafitkids.com. This is another reminder about the local food for schools purchasing meeting that's going to be February 8th from 1 to 2. It's going to provide background of the local food for schools cooperative agreement, discuss the funding timeline, and then also discuss options for you for spending your dollars. So if you're having a difficult time trying to figure out how to spend that local food for schools funding that you received, please consider being on this call. It should be very informative and hopefully give you some good ideas for getting that funding spent. We have a potential upcoming ICN in-person training. We have sent a request to ICN for dates in May or June and are awaiting a response from ICN. We requested the Introduction to School Nutrition Leadership training. It's a 4.5-day training. It's 30.5 hours of course content divided over 5 days rather. And this training is intended for new CNP directors, but we would encourage anyone who feels like they need this training to register and attend the training. We have to have a minimum of 25 participants in order to host it. And the lessons include an overview of school nutrition programs. It defines the roles and responsibilities of a director. And we also review the relationship between local policies and state or federal regulations. We just wanted you to know that we've requested this. We've heard from you all. We've requested it, and we will be communicating with everyone once we have confirmation of if or when we can have this training. We've got some culinary trainings that have occurred and are coming up, but I do believe that the last one from February 20th is full. National School Breakfast Week is coming up. It's March 4th through 8th. The theme this year is Surfs Up with School Breakfast. National School Breakfast Week celebrates the importance of a nutritious school breakfast in fueling students for success. This special observance during the first week of March celebrates the National School Breakfast Program and the many ways it gives kids a great start every day. National School Breakfast Week is the perfect time to bring attention to your breakfast program and set a goal to increase participation. For more information on National School Breakfast Week and for the contest information, please visit the School Nutrition Association of Louisiana website. One idea I heard, I believe there may have been several parishes that do this. They actually served breakfast for lunch one day in celebration of School Breakfast Week and to encourage kids to consider coming for breakfast. I thought that was a really neat idea. Louisiana Lunch Week is March 11th through 15th. The theme is Louisiana Festival of Flavors. It's the chance to show off Louisiana food products and prepare newly developed team nutrition recipes for students in your district. Show the recipes that are highlighted in the Festival of Flavors campaign and also showcase the Louisiana products that are used to create these delicious meals. And for more information on Louisiana Festival of Flavors, please visit the Louisiana Fit Kids website. And then for more information on Louisiana School Lunch Week and for the contest information, please visit the School Nutrition Association of Louisiana website. We're planning to offer both a virtual manager training and an in-person manager training this year. The virtual manager training will be held from May 28th through 31st via Zoom. On May 28th, it will be in the afternoon from 1 to 4:30. On May 29th and 30th, it will be a full training day from 8:30 to 4:30. And then on May 31st, it will be the assessment quiz from 9 to 11:30. So to register for this training, the following criteria must be met. Participants must have their own email address. Participants must have a computer and reliable internet service at the training location. The computer must have both audio and video capability so that participants will be able to see, hear, and participate in the training. And the assessment will be computerized, so participants are required to be proctored by the CNP director or designee. SFAs may wish to host the assessment in a computer lab on site. The in-person manager training will be held from July 8th through 10th at Pennington Biomedical Conference Center. On July 8th and 9th, it will be a full day of training from 8 to 4:30. On July 10th, it will be training from 8:30 to noon, and then the assessment quiz will follow from 1:30 to 4. To register for this training, the following criteria must be met. Participants, again, must have their own email address. They must bring a laptop computer to take the assessment quiz on July 10th. That assessment will be computerized, but participants will be proctored by LDOE and or Pennington Biomedical Research Center personnel. It is going to have a cost associated with it for the in-person training. It's going to be $60, and we have to limit it to 40 attendees in order to ensure that we have adequate space and resources. All right, Division of Nutrition Support team updates. Here are some updates for school food service. We have a couple of things to note since our last staffing update. We've now hired for the administrative specialist and education consultant 2 positions. Mary Bacon is our new administrative specialist. She's transitioning into this position from within the Division of Nutrition Support. And then we have also hired Shelly Ragusa for the education consultant position, and she's going to be starting with us on February 12th. And we are thrilled to have her. Many of you may remember her from when she worked on administrative reviews on the menu portion from Pennington, from our contract with Pennington. So Shelly has great school experience, and we are so happy to have her joining our team. This slide is a list of the Division of Nutrition Support contacts, with some staff transitioning into new positions, learning new roles, taking on new projects and programs, and out in the field providing technical assistance. It may sometimes be difficult to reach a particular staff member or get your questions answered in a timely manner. This week is a perfect example of that. All of our school food service staff are at a USDA training this week. So you will probably be noticing a lot of out of office messages if you email us. So the main email and address and the main phone number are on this screen. We would encourage you to email that main email address with your questions. It does go to several staff members, so hopefully we can get your questions answered faster. And then if you call the main number with questions, maybe your call can be directed to a staff member that is in the office to answer your question. Okay, we did it. I'm going to go over to the chat to look at what questions have been submitted So if you have anything else that you're thinking of that you want to put in the chat, you can go ahead and add it there. Like I said, we will try to get the recording and the slides posted within the next few days. And again, through Thursday, most of our staff is at a training, so please be patient with us as we try to get back to you with answers to questions. Our first question was, will there also be a returning sponsor training on March 7th? The answer is yes. We do have an SFSP training on March 7th in Baton Rouge at Claiborne Building. We have another question about not seeing an authorized rep option when they log in. Go ahead and send me an email about that. You know, as a state user, we have a different view than system users, so it may take us a little bit of time to figure out if that's just if that's a system issue or a permissions issue. I'm not exactly sure what that is. But we should also be able to tell you who's listed if you had a question about who is listed as your authorized rep or who is listed as your superintendent. I have a question about documents for next year's administrative review. You know, the documents have not been updated in quite a while. So I am not sure if we will have new documents for administrative reviews in school year 25, or if they will continue to have us use the old documents. Right now, we do have a section in the form section that show all of the forms that we're using this year. Now, if that's going to change, we don't always know if or when things like that will change, but we have what's currently available posted to our website. We have another question about interim superintendents. So if you have a superintendent that resigns or leaves for whatever reason, what do you do in the meantime? And I would encourage you to, if you have an interim superintendent, go ahead and amend that CNP information sheet so that we do have something current on file. And then again, if it's somebody different that's named as the permanent superintendent, then again, you would need to do one more revision on that. We have another question. Will all administrative reviews be done by CN Resources? Not 100% of reviews, but a good portion of them will be done by CN Resources. You know, we're working to train staff so we can have staff out in the field more conducting some of those reviews. But we really need CN Resources is a tremendous help in making sure that we remain compliant and can get to everyone. So not 100%, but they will be doing administrative reviews. However, I'll say, you know, if you are going to get a review next year, please reach out to us, reach out to Misty, or send something to childnutritionprograms@la.gov. And we are happy, always happy to come and do some technical assistance with you beforehand and try to help you get ready for that administrative review. Will there be trainings on administrative reviews? Yes. Every year, CN Resources they do offer a training on what's the process, how it works, what's going to be expected. So that will occur. Yes, there will be a training on administrative reviews. I'll wait just another minute to see if we have any more questions come through. Okay. For training on administrative reviews, they typically offer a live training or a couple of live trainings. I know they have little mini sessions on their website, but if you have a really specific question about accessing it after the fact, I'm gonna have to check with someone. I'm not exactly sure on that. All right. Thank you all so much for getting on this call today. I hope it was informative and helpful. As always, please reach out with any questions that you have, or if there's anything we can do to assist you. We appreciate all of you so much and the work that you do every day. Hopefully everybody gets to relax a little bit, enjoy Mardi Gras next week. And we will hopefully see you in person next month on March 6th here at Pennington for our next state update. All right.